Hey guys, Jinx here, and today I want to show you how to do the Ho-Oh fight in a really simple way. First off, in case you didn't know, Ho-Oh is a weekly battle, which means right when you beat him, a 7-day timer goes and then you can fight him again after that. The reward for beating him is 3 legendary lures and 10 rainbow quills, so don't bother popping a charm before this. The average value of these depends on the current market, but on average it's about 150 to 180k profit if you sell them all in the GTL. These are the 3 Pokemon you're going to need for this. The Poliwrath and Chandelure you're going to want to build 5x31 with Adamant and Modest Natures. You can get away with 31 in their attack stat and speed and the Adamant or Modest Nature if you're on a budget, but these guys are so good for the Elite 4 reruns that I recommend just building them for this and then you can use it in your Elite 4 rerun. I did test this method with some budget ones and it worked most of the time. However, there is some other RNG that comes into play, so there is a risk of having to do the run more than once. So if that's an issue, make sure you build the proper ones. However, these are the ones that I did on my budget run, and I found this as a recommended resource from the creator of the guide that I followed from billibilli. Your EV spread is 250 attack, 32 defense, 228 speed. This is actually just the Elite 4 spread. If you're building it just for this, all attack and speed is fine. The moves you're going to need are Drain Punch, Belly Drum, and Ice Punch. You don't need Earthquake for this, that's just on there. You're going to be using Belly Drum to get +6 on your attack as fast as possible, Drain Punch to heal you back up and take out the dogs, and Ice Punch to hurt Ho-Oh. The item he's going to be using is just Black Belt. This is just to pump up the Drain Punch so that you can knock out the dogs. So that's it for the Poliwrath. Let's take a look at the Chandelure. You're going to need Modest Nature on this, and you'll want to go all 252 special attack and 252 speed. As for moves, you're going to need Calm Mind and Shadow Ball. You don't actually need any other moves for this run, those are the only 2 you're going to be using. And your ability is going to be Flash Fire for this. This is so that the AoE and the attacks from Ho-Oh don't hit Chandelure. Your item on Chandelure is Shell Bell. This will allow you to heal up while you do damage to Ho-Oh. Altaria is going to be our utility Pokemon here. Now, the nice thing about this is it's very budget. I think I got this guy just straight off the GTL for about 50k. You're going to want any special defense nature. The nature doesn't matter as long as you're getting special defense out of it. As for IVs, you're going to want at least 20 HP, 25 defense, 25 special defense. I'd recommend going as high in your 3 defensive stats as possible. However, if you need to go on that little bit more of a budget route, you can and it'll work totally fine. Altaria is going to be using leftovers to help heal a little bit up. You do need hidden ability on Altaria so that we have Cloud9 to make sure that Ho-Oh doesn't have the sun in his second form. This is going to make him take 2 turns for his Solar Beam and do a lot less damage, which is going to make it a lot easier to tank the hits. The moves you're going to need are Substitute, Safeguard, Roost, and any damaging attack. For EVs, you're going to want 252 HP and 252 special defense. This is going to make sure we can tank the hits from Ho-Oh, and you'll see in the run, he does basically no damage to Altaria, even with the Solar Beam. So that's pretty much it for the build. Let's get into the run. I'll show you guys how to get up the tower, so I'll run through this really quick if you need it, and then I'll see you guys back at the top. A massive thank you to all the supporters of this channel, including our newest supporter, Matthew22, and of course, our ongoing supporters, Ice Cutter, Cripe, Kaido Kid, Puni, and our massive booner, Riel. Thank you so much for helping support this channel. The Ho fight has 2 official phases, however, I'm going to break it up into 5 separate sections that all have different steps, just to make it easier to follow along, depending on how some damage rolls go, the dogs that come in, and how the fight's going at the time. The first turn is always going to run the exact same. First off, make sure your order is like this: Altaria on the left, Poliwrath in the middle, and Chandelure on the right. And you're always going to Safeguard first to prevent the burn. You're going to Belly Drum with Poliwrath to buff him up, and Calm Mind with Chandelure. The Safeguard's important to prevent the burn on everybody. You need to make sure that Safeguard goes out first turn so that this AoE burn doesn't actually burn anybody. Also, make sure you don't have any more than just these 3 in your party. If you do, that'll actually act as like Whirlwind and swap everybody out. Right, so Entei is the first one to come in. Depending on which dog comes in, can change the RNG a little bit. However, for the section where the dogs are coming in, we're going to run it the same every time. So Altaria every time is going to swap with Poliwrath. Poliwrath is always going to Drain Punch the dog. And Chandelure, if Ho-Oh is on the ground, is going to use Calm Mind. If Ho-Oh is in the air, is going to use Shadow Ball. The only thing that causes this to have a slight variation is like if Raikou comes in before Entei, the Drain Punch won't one-hit him. It's not a big deal, you just Drain Punch him 2 times and you'll be fine. However, that can allow him to get an attack off on Poliwrath and potentially burn it, in which case you just use a burn heal and keep going. Okay, so now that there's no dog, if there was still Suicune or Entei there, I'd Drain Punch them. However, I'm just going to Ice Punch Ho-Oh. I'm going to put a sub up with Altaria, and I'm going to Shadow Ball on Ho-Oh. The Raikou comes in, he actually sets up Reflect when he comes in, which is what can cause a bit of problems just if Entei comes after him. It's not a problem, it just requires you to take 2 turns so you don't get that Ice Punch off on Ho-Oh, and it might cause a slight turn delay later on in the fight. So next we're just going to Drain Punch Raikou, swap Altaria with Poliwrath, and Calm Mind with Chandelure. And we're just going to sub again. We're going to Ice Punch Ho-Oh, and we're going to Shadow Ball Ho-Oh. And now Suicune's going to come in. So now again, we're just going to swap Altaria with Poliwrath. We're going to Drain Punch Suicune, and we're going to Calm Mind on Chandelure. Suicune's going to take 2 Drain Punches always to KO. Even if he doesn't have Reflect up, it'll still take 2 Drain Punches. So in that case, you just don't Ice Punch Ho-Oh. It's totally fine. You'll notice Ho-Oh actually got his turn skipped there. That's because Altaria has its sub up, and Ho-Oh tried to Sky Drop it, which it can't do through the sub. So he basically just skips his turn, which we're going to be abusing for the rest of this phase. So we're going to Drain Punch Suicune, knock him out. We're going to swap Altaria. Ho is going to use Sky Drop on Poliwrath, but it's going to get stuck and actually not do anything. So now that all 3 dogs are down, we're going to go into the second stage of this fight. Alright, so now all 3 dogs are down. This is what I'd call like phase 1.2. The dogs are down. Ho is still at pretty high HP, like 30 to 50%. We want to take him down to that 30 to 50% range, and then we can start setting up for the next phase of the fight. So now that we have sub up, Ho-Oh is basically stun locked, he can't do anything. Alright, so I'm going to Roost with Altaria just to heal him up. I'm going to use Poliwrath to shift with Altaria, just so that Ho-Oh doesn't get his turn. And I'm going to Calm Mind that last time with Chandelure, just to get him at +6 special attack. So going into the second phase of the fight, we want to make sure everybody's at 100% HP. Chandelure is going to heal off the Shell Bell, and Altaria is going to get the last of his healing off his leftovers. Okay, so here I'm going to Ice Punch with Poliwrath, and I'm going to swap with Altaria with Poliwrath, and then I'm going to Shadow Ball Ho-Oh. Shadow Ball does just about 25%. It can do anywhere from 24 to 28% that I've seen. So once you're in that like 24 to 28%, you want to make sure you're in 1-hit KO range. That's where you are gonna stop attacking because you don't want to KO him here. The next stage is when Ho-Oh is at 30 to 50%, and the most important thing here is to make sure Altaria sets up Safeguard while Chandelure takes Ho-Oh down to that less than 24% range. I could do another Shadow Ball. Yeah, I'm going to do one more Shadow Ball here, just because he isn't in that 28% range. So now I'm going to set up a Safeguard with Altaria. I'm going to use Poliwrath to shift, and I'm going to Shadow Ball on Ho-Oh. This next section is really important to make sure you're set up for. Make sure Ho-Oh is less than 24% HP, and everybody else is 100% HP, and you have Safeguard up. This is going to be just one turn, and it's going to be what sets you up to knock out quick in Ho-Oh's phase 2. So here I'm going to Belly Drum with Poliwrath. Since he's the slowest, that'll go off after Ho-Oh goes down. We're going to shift with Altaria. We already got our Safeguard up. And I'm going to Shadow Ball to knock out Ho-Oh. This is what Cloud 9 on Altaria is super important because it shuts off the sound effect. So now we're going to shift Altaria to the middle. We already Belly Drum, so he's already at +6. So here, we're just going to Ice Punch on Ho-Oh and Shadow Ball on Ho-Oh. Because of Cloud 9, he takes 2 turns to do his attack, and by then he's basically just going to be dead. So from here on, we're just going to Ice Punch, I'm going to Dragon Pulse, and Shadow Ball. We're just going to all-out attack everything. He's going to attack Altaria. We're going to take some chip damage from the AoE, but it's not a big deal. If you're worried, you could Drain Punch with Poliwrath just to heal him up a bit, but you might as well just go for max damage because he's your big damage dealer in this phase. That's pretty much the last attack he's going to get off. Typically it targets the Altaria there, but it's not a big deal. between the Shadow Balls and the Dragon Pulses here, you just keep attacking and he'll die before he gets through you guys. So even there, getting unlucky, he crit me. Still, with that, we're totally fine. Typically, that last turn, he'll just use Solar Beam on Altaria, and then it doesn't do any damage to you, but the AI gets a little bit weird sometimes. Even if it does, like worst case scenario, you're still good. You just keep attacking through and you'll be fine. So that's pretty much it for this Ho-Oh strategy. I hope this video helped you out. If it did, give it a like and consider subscribing for more weekly PokeMMO content. Put out a video every Friday. So that's that, and I'll see you guys next week with another video.